These are the capers, the salt pack capers. I rinsed them off. Now I'm soaking them in water. Just leave them here for quite a while. Like an hour is good if you can do it. I've got some wet packed fresh mozzarella, and in order to help this out here, I'm going to cut this up. Now the exact amount of cream that you're going to add is going to vary a little bit. On several different factors, different mozzarellas have slightly different moisture contents, and there's really no way to give you absolutely accurate measurements. I'm just cutting it up roughly first and putting it in the cup. After you do this a few times, you can get a better idea of how much cream to add. And now you hit it with a stick blender. And this is what you want to see. You want to see something that's creamy, and it's something basically the bottom line is it needs to be able to go through a piping bag. So when you're doing this, save yourself a little bit of extra mozzarella in case you added too much cream. You can add more mozzarella and thicken it back up. In this case it was perfect. Use good quality fresh vine ripened cherry tomatoes. Pick them off the stem and then wash them and dry them. Now you need to take the center out. A steak knife works especially well for this. Usually I don't use serrated knives in the kitchen, but this is one of those times where the serrated part really helps for dealing with the tomatoes texture. Okay, so we got this out. We're just going to work the knife in the center a little bit. Hollow it out just a little bit more. Okay, so we've got one done. We're going to repeat this procedure on all. Okay, now we have the task of how to get salt and pepper into them. I've mixed up a little bit. That is salt and pepper without ruining the outside of them. So it's easy. You just put a funnel down, put a little pinch in each one. Now the outsides of the tomatoes are still clean. Of course you could just sprinkle it on anyway if you don't care, but you know, for restaurant presentation we want it to be perfect. Now we're going to mince those capers up. They don't have to be super fine, but you don't want whole capers in there either. Put that in, and I'm going to do something else a little bit tricky here. Take a whole clove of garlic, just smash this in the back of the knife, and I'm going to set this in the bowl. We're not going to actually put this on the salad, but it's going to flavor the oil. So now, put this on, and just kind of let this marinate for a couple of minutes while you're doing the rest of it. And while this is marinating, I've got a couple of nice choice basil leaves here. I'm going to roll these up and cut them as chiffonade. Hopefully you know how to do this already. If you don't, read any basic cookbook. You want fairly fine chiffonade, but not ultra fine, because after all we do want pieces of this to be visible. Okay. Now I've got the work plate with the tomatoes, and we'll begin filling these with that mozzarella. Remember, they already have the salt and pepper inside of them. And if you have some tomatoes that don't want to stand up, you can always use a knife and trim them a little bit flat on the bottom, as you see I did with this one. And you don't have to be too careful about the piping because it's going to be covered with basil anyway, but just fill them up. I pulled the garlic clove out of this oil now. Now I'm just going to spread this down with the capers. It's pretty easy plating. Looks nice, but doesn't really take much effort. Okay, I got that down. Now I'm going to set the tomatoes in it. Bring those over. Make sure you don't set them on top of a caper so that they fall over. Of course. Get that down. Add a little bit more of the olive oil and capers. Okay. Now the base. And depending on how careful you want to be with this, you can use tweezers, or you can just dump it over the top. Being Also look for my cocktail book, Cocktails of the South Pacific and Beyond, Advanced Mixology, available through Amazon online.